welcome to the world famous San Diego Zoo guided bus tour. We've got y'all clear from our dock, so away we go. And I've got one question for you folks. Are you ready to see some animals today? Alright, a little bit of energy to start the tour. Thank you very much. And again, welcome aboard. And then just a quick mic check. Make sure everybody can hear me okay. If I sound good, not too loud, not too quiet, can you please wave your hands to the front of the bus? Upper level and lower level. A lot of hands downstairs, a lot of hands upstairs. Thank you so much. And welcome aboard. Now my name is Devin, and for the next 35 to 40 minutes I do have the honor and pleasure of being your driver and your tour guide. So it should be a lot of fun. And you folks are of course here at the world famous San Diego Zoo, which is one of our two front doors, the other one being our safari park. And the moment that you folks walked in through the main entrance, you have joined us in something that happens to be one of the world's greatest projects for conservation. So thank you much for being here today. And as you would expect on a tour, that means we're going to go see some of your favorite species, but on the way, we're also hopefully going to learn a little bit about them, as well as the threats they're facing and the things that San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is doing in our hubs of conservation with our allies in order to create a world where all life thrives. So, long story short, we're going to see some stuff, learn some stuff, and hopefully have a pretty good time while we do so. I've got a lot of fun stories, a lot of jokes, a lot of questions for you, and I think we should have a pretty wonderful adventure together. Now, do we have any first-timers on board the bus? Any first-timers here at the zoo? Oh, quite a lot of people. Well, welcome aboard. For the first-timers, I very highly recommend that you have out your map or your app. You'll find those to be very, very helpful resources for you, especially while we're headed around the tour. And then one last note before we descend here. In front of us, on the other side of the Skyfari, the buckets up there, is our Wildlife Explorers Base Camp, which just opened up yesterday. So it's brand new, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, there's all sorts of amazing things to do in there, so I highly encourage you to go check it out at some time today. But with that said and done, we're now descending into Lost Forest, and this is where the most exciting part of the tour happens. The safety rules. Now there's only two, I promise they're super easy. So rule number one, everybody, rule number one, please keep your arms, your legs, your head, shoulders, knees, and toes all inside the bus, as well as any other possessions you might have. Things people typically like to hold outside of buses, like cell phones, cameras, small children. Please don't hold them outside of the bus. I know it can be tempting, but I've seen many things dropped over the years. And rule number two, if you could help me out with this one, everybody on the bus is welcome to stand during the tour. Standing is totally fine. However, if you do stand up, please just make sure to keep 2 feet from on the ground and your hands on the handles that are all over the place. No standing on the benches, things like that. So basically keep yourself steady, and a safe tour is the start of a happy tour, and I think that's what we're all here for today, and I would really appreciate your help in making that happen. But with all that said and done, on the right-hand side is our first habitat on the tour. We are looking for the Malayan tigers. Do we see any tigers in there?
No.
No, I don't hear any screaming. It doesn't sound like it. So we'll probably pull off in just a second, but first an important question. Does anybody know why tigers are striped? Yeah, because they don't want to be spotted, right? But the stripes on a tiger are also unique to each individual, just like the fingerprints on a human. So very important in actually identifying tigers, and that's what our work is on right now in our Asian Rainforest Hub of Conservation, another one of those hubs of conservation in which we are extending our work to create a world where all life thrives. And those tigers there in the Asian Rainforest Hub. We are working in Waikambas National Park in Indonesia. We've got some field researchers there taking pictures with camera arrays actually to learn more about tigers and their behaviors. Current estimations, there's probably only about 800 left. Not doing very well are the Malayan tigers, so we are working on protecting them in ways that we'll talk about later on. Now in the body of water, I see just a little bit of the hippo, and actually across the water, look on the land in the distance, that's an okapi. You see it back there? Kind of horse-like, has those stripes on the leg. Anyone want to guess what that might be related to? Oh, I hear a lot of zebra. Not quite, the stripes are actually quite misleading. That's actually a relative of the giraffe of all things. So if you get up close and personal, notice the skull shape. You might also see their 15-inch long tongue that they use to browse through the trees, but also to clean their eyes and ears. Very interesting choice they make there. But on the right, you can see a little bit through the water, lower level, if you look through there. Those are the hippos. They look like sinking rocks. Those would be the two hippos. We have Punani, the mother, and Amashle, the baby. Now, they are 4,000-pound land mammals, but despite being land mammals, they spend roughly 16 hours a day underwater. And the reason for that is because they weigh 4,000 pounds. That's a lot of weight, very unhealthy for their joints. So they spend time underwater to alleviate that weight on their joints, which helps keep them healthy into later ages. Very similar to hydrotherapy, which you might have seen for dogs or cats. And then here on the right, this is usually a monkey habitat. You'll notice some construction. There's a lot of important decisions being made here. As a part of our animal welfare, how we care for the animals, one really important thing is habitat design, making them look and feel as much like home as possible, as well as giving the animals the ample opportunities to practice their natural behaviors. So for monkeys, that's things like climbing and foraging. So we're putting in lots of rope swings and ladders and vines and things like that. But we're also putting in lots of puzzle feeders and places for them to forage for their food. That is called enriched experiences, mental or physical stimuli, to help them practice natural behaviors. So we're going to see a lot of those as we do head along the tour. And then we're going to drive through this section. On the left is our flamboyant flamingos. That's what you call a group of flamingos. Above us on the right is Eagle Trail. That's where several of our birds of prey are located. Really cool. We have a bird up there with a 10.5-foot wingspan. And then here on the left is the kangaroo bus stop number 2. That's the other bus you can all take today. Your hop on, hop off kangaroo bus. The one you're on now is a round trip, so you're stuck with me the whole time. That one you can get on and off. There are 4 stops, and we will see them during the tour. Very helpful resource for you as you're traveling around today. And then at this point, we're going to head up the hill to the right. While we're going, no habitats to see. So I have a fun story to share. And you folks might have heard from other sources that we are the world famous San Diego Zoo, but you might not have heard exactly how we got that title. There are a lot of reasons. One of which that I like to talk about is some of our medical work. Up the hill on the left, we've got a hospital there where we've done some pretty amazing things. One of which is a story involving an orangutan by the name of Karen. And Karen the orangutan was pretty famous a few years ago because she underwent the world's very first open heart surgery on a zoo animal, which, as you could guess, very scary, right? Very terrifying stuff, but we have allies around the world, and over 100 experts in various fields volunteered their time to come and help. The operation itself then lasted over 7 hours, so incredibly intense, incredibly arduous, a nail biter, and ultimately was a success. And Karen the orangutan, she's still alive and well here at the San Diego Zoo. You can see her in Lost Forest with some of our other orangutans there. But she's the main character of one of very many stories that does make us famous here, and hopefully during the tour we can spot a few protagonists of other ones. Now here in the distance on the right side, those are the Speaks gazelle. You see the small gazelle with the black patches on their sides? They are Speaks gazelle, and they have an interesting adaptation. They have an inflatable nose. And you might wonder, what is the point of that? Why would you want to inflate your nose? Well, it turns out that the Speaks gazelle are capable of very loudly honking their nose. And that's exactly what they do. Whenever they're approached by predators, they will very suddenly, very loudly, and just like a clown, very scarily, honk their noses, which will potentially scare their predators away, or in the event of a chase, startle them for long enough for the gazelles to escape. So certainly a comical adaptation, but very effective. There is a reason those gazelle have been around for centuries, and hopefully with our work here at the zoo, will be around for a little bit longer. But we're going to come to a full stop here and turn our attention off the left-hand side. Go ahead and stand up and take a peek. Anybody see any polar bears over there? Yep. I do spot one left corner. I think there's one in the distance towards the right. Do we see him? Yeah. Very quiet bus today. But yes, it sounds like we can spot a few of them. Now, we do have 3 polar bears here at the zoo. Kaluk, Tatkik, and Chinook, all orphans being raised here at the zoo. And they are a part of another one of our hubs of conservation, the Oceania Hub. So we're doing some work in a couple ocean regions around the world to protect some species. And with the polar bears, we are collaborating with a team known as Polar Bears International in order to protect them. Now, here at the zoo, our bears are involved in some pretty interesting voluntary research that they choose to participate in. One of those projects is called the Bird on the Fur Trial, in which we are testing prototype hair clip trackers. So it's a non-invasive hair clip, just like the ones we wear, and it tracks their daily activities, their behaviors, and where they travel. And we are testing prototypes for that here. The first wave actually fell off a little earlier than expected, so we are now in development for the second wave of trackers. So one project they're working on, another one has to do with tracking metabolism and energy costs. So they've actually been trained to walk on polar bear treadmills, so we can learn about their energy costs. So really interesting stuff that happens here with the polar bears. And most of it is very non-invasive. They just hang out here at the zoo and we learn from it. And that's one of the great things about organizations like ourselves. But we are going to take off, so please do take a seat or hold on. Come back later, they might be awake, doing some things. They love to swim and hunt and run around, so very fun are the bears. But they right now are extremely endangered by habitat loss resulting from climate change. And it turns out that if we can all help out make a difference by doing something that's known as reducing our carbon footprint, or in English, saving power. Actions like turning off lights that you're not using, riding your bike and carpooling, all make a big difference in protecting species not just like the polar bears, but koalas, which we'll talk about later, and even populations of giraffes that are drowning because of rising water levels. So climate change is a huge issue, but we can all be allies and protect our planet Earth by reducing our carbon footprint, a really excellent way to be an ally. Now up ahead on the right, they're looking at a habitat over here. Oh, and actually it looks like they're off habitat. So there are some peccaries in there sometimes, but that gate in the back makes me think there's some upgrades going on. Again, a very key thing we do here as a part of that animal welfare, giving the animals opportunities to practice their natural behaviors. Now here at the top of the hill, you're going to see the Skyfari aerial tram. This takes off from the back of the zoo and goes to the front, or vice versa, front to back. It's a 5-minute trip through the sky. It's really quick, really easy, and it's also free, so please be ready to use it. Now on the right is our 4D theater, a 3D movie with all your other senses as well. And as it does get hotter, keep that in mind, it's air conditioned. And then on the left, I don't actually expect too much activity at this time of day. This is the mountain lion habitat. They are what is known as crepuscular, which means most active at dusk and dawn. So sunrise and sunset is when you'll usually see them climbing around. And they are excellent jumpers. This bus is about 18 feet tall. Those mountain lions can reach the top in a single jump. So incredibly agile are the mountain lions, and you'll usually see them climbing all over the place. Now here on the right, this is another crepuscular habitat. This is where the maned wolves live. And the maned wolves, they're also crepuscular, most active at sunrise and sunset. Despite the name, they're not actually related to wolves. And if you do see them later on today, they're not related to foxes either, although that's what they look like. They are called foxes on stilts, because they have these really long legs. And you'll usually smell them before you see them. Take a deep breath through the nose. That skunky smell, that's them. That's their main method of communication, by scent. Now here on the left, this is our kangaroo bus stop number 3. That's the hop on, hop off bus stop right here at the entrance to Elephant Odyssey, the next portion of our tour. And Elephant Odyssey here is designed to be like what California would have been like about 10,000 years ago. So each of the species of plants and animals we're going to see here are representatives or relatives of species that used to live in California. So pay close attention, got some fun history here. Now on our left-hand side, scattered amongst the branches, are the South African rock hyraxes. Now I see some on the right, on the branches. I see some in the back left corner. You see them, they're kind of furry potato friends, you know, hanging out here. Now folks, I've got a question for y'all. And if you've got a guess, I'd love to hear you shout it out. So here's the question. What animals do you think the hyraxes might be related to? Any guesses?
Beaver.
I think I heard squirrels.
Beavers.
Lemur? Beaver. Oh, okay, good guess. Any others? Very quiet bus today. Alright, so common guesses: squirrels, guinea pigs, hamsters, groundhogs, prairie dogs, meerkats maybe. None of those are correct. What you folks are looking at are the closest living relatives of the elephants. And you wouldn't guess it, which is why I make you guess. That's usually the fun part. But what you folks are looking at are in fact the closest relatives of not only the elephants, but also the manatees. And we've done some research, and it turns out the biggest predictor of this is actually their dentition, the shape of their jaw structure, and the tiny tusks on the inside of their lips. And that's how we know these 5 to 10 pound critters are cousins to the thousands of pound elephants. Quite an interesting pair there. Now on the right, taking their third nap of the day, is the majestic lions. Now Ernest is on the left. He's in the middle of the habitat, laying down there. Miss Ellen is the right. She's on the corner over there. So Ernest and Miss Ellen, this is a brother and a sister pair hanging out here at the zoo. Now he is in fact sleeping with his tongue sticking out. Yes, the king of the jungle in his very royal form here. But most of their day is spent sleeping. Roughly 16 to 20 hours a day is spent taking naps. Now they are 400-pound big cats, quite dangerous predators if you want to be. They are a part of our Savannah Hub of Conservation working on Africa, in collaborating with a team called the Northern Rangelands Trust in order to protect them. Now if you do see Miss Ellen, she's on the right. She's laying down on the side there. She's a prankster. She likes to mess with Ernest. My favorite is called a cheetah trip. She'll lay down, and when Ernest walks by in front of her, she'll take her paws, and she'll swipe his back legs out from underneath him. So he falls down, he turns around all upset, growling at her, and she acts like she has no clue what happened. The perfect princess is she. Now, I have also had the chance to talk with the care specialists who actually care for the animals here, for the lions in particular. And it turns out they are very stubborn big cats. Has anybody ever heard about that? No? Turns out they've got too much pride. And a pride is a term you might have heard when talking about lions before, and that is what you call a group of lions, right? But it's unique to the lions. All other big cats are entirely solitary, outside of mating or raising their young. And over here in this habitat, right-hand side, we are looking for Nindiri the jaguar. Now, she's an ambush predator, right-hand side, and I like to play a little game called you have 5 seconds to find her, or your lunch. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, if you didn't find her, she got you. She's right next to the house, right next to us, about as close as she can possibly be ground level. There's Nindiri the jaguar. So she is really close to us, right here on the ground, laying down in the shade there. So if you didn't find her, you now realize how good of a predator she can be when she wants to be. She wasn't even trying. She's taking a bit of a nap. Actually, I think she's awake. But she's just kind of hanging out there. Now, Nindiri the jaguar, you'll notice, is much smaller than lions, right? She is fully grown at about 80 pounds, whereas lions are about 400. But that small size actually works to her advantage. If you look at her habitat here, you might recall I mentioned that the habitats represent their homes. And this habitat represents her home of the Amazon forest, buried in vegetation, lots of trees, and more importantly, lots of places to climb, which is really key for an ambush predator like Nindiri. So that small size is important for her success as a climber and a hunter. And while she is very small, she's very powerful. Her bite force is actually twice as strong as that of a lion, even though she's only a fifth of their size. So incredibly powerful are these jaguars. And as a result, they've got a pretty cool nickname. They are called skull crushers, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now, she's a part of our Amazonia hub of conservation, working in the Amazon forest to protect animals like Nindiri, because many of them are endangered by habitat loss resulting from deforestation. Now, class, if I could get a show of hands, do we have any coffee drinkers on board? Anybody drink coffee? I see a lot of hands downstairs. A couple up top, I think. It looks like a lot of coffee drinkers. So if you do drink coffee, you can really help out. You can make a big difference by buying something that's known as shade-grown coffee. So when you buy your coffee for home, look for shade-grown coffee. It's a really great coffee because it's coffee grown within the forest rather than removing them. So it's a huge deal because it leaves the habitat standing for the animals that rely on them. So shade-grown coffee, one excellent thing to look for. Great way to be an ally. Now here on the right, this is the first portion of our elephant yard, believe it or not. They're pretty good at hide and seek. Not spotting any here, so we'll go to the far side, see who we can find. We do have 5 elephants here at the San Diego Zoo. They are nicknamed the architects of the earth because elephants are the largest of all land mammals, and because of that they make physical changes to their landscapes, knocking down trees and carving out paths through forests. One thing they're known to do. Now here on the right, this is our Elephant Care Center. This is where a lot of the innovative work happens here at the zoo, and it's right here where we pioneered something that's known as protected contact, which is a method of working with all animals that's proven to be so safe, so effective. It's actually now the standard in AZA accredited organizations all around the world. And it's right in here where the magic happens. So the animals come in voluntarily. They choose to participate in their care, and we do that with positive reinforcement. Last time you went to the dentist, they probably gave you a lollipop and a sticker on the way out. Exact same concept here. In fact, you can see the goodies waiting for them. They come in for things like cleaning, so think car wash, but elephant-sized. They do blood work, they do dental work, they even do pedicures for our 10,000-pound friends. So really amazing stuff that does happen here to care for them. And we're gonna scoot past the secretary bird habitat here. Check them out later on. Very interesting predators, as they prefer to chase their prey on the claw and stomp on it in order to kill it. Their favorites are snakes. They like them well tenderized. But we're looking for some more elephants over here. See who we can find. Now we're gonna come up to the last section in a moment. Oh, so right over there, I do see one of our Asian elephants as opposed to African. Does anybody know how to tell the difference? I heard it whispered, yes, the ears is how you can tell. African elephant ears are a lot larger, about the full size of the head. Asian elephant ears are a lot smaller, about half the size of the head. Now, I believe that one is Devi, our 45-year-old Asian elephant. She is our second oldest, the oldest being Mary at 59. And I think Mary's the one in the care center you see her way in the distance, way back there. But so these animals, unfortunately, right now are endangered by habitat loss and poaching. Poaching is a big threat for them, as they are being hunted for the ivory that's in their tusks. And one of the terrible consequences of poaching is a very large population of orphans. There's a lot of orphaned baby elephants right now. So we're collaborating with the team in Kenya in our Savannah hub called the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary. They are a community-led initiative run by locals that are focused on finding and raising orphaned elephant calves. So really amazing work that they do. And while we check out Shaba, our 42-year-old African elephant here, I actually want to share a story from the Reteti Sanctuary about an elephant by the name of Longudo. Now, Longudo was a baby elephant found at the age of a month and a half old, incredibly small, incredibly young, and his mother was killed by poachers. And because she was not around to protect him, Longudo found himself the victim of a very terrible hyena attack. And in running away, he lost a third of his trunk, and he fell into a well. And he spent the night there in pain, crying for his mother, until he was found by rangers the next morning. And within the hour, vets from the Reteti Sanctuary were on their way to help. And the very first thing they considered when they found him was euthanasia. They considered putting Longudo down because he couldn't breathe properly without his trunk. But they instead decided to believe in his fight, and after a series of medical operations and 2.5 years later, Longudo is still alive and well. He's being cared for at the sanctuary and being given all the resources, all the skills he needs to when to go back out into his native habitat and carve out his own future, as the architects of the earth are known to do. So super amazing work. And we're very proud to be collaborating with them because it's stories like that that they make possible, right? They gave this orphaned baby elephant a chance at a future, which you would not have had without them. So I highly encourage you to go to their website, Reteti, R-E-T-E-T-I, Elephant Sanctuary, and read about some of the stories they have. And I'd share them with you here, but I'm not ready to cry on tour. So I'll leave that to you folks on your own time. Definitely look it up. And if you want to know more about how conservation is actually done in the sites where we're doing it, the Reteti Sanctuary is an excellent place to start. I highly encourage you to look it up. But there you could see Shaba foraging for a little bit of food. She also did poop a little bit, which is important for reasons we're going to talk about later. It'll come up, I promise. But to the elephants, tons of fun to have here at the zoo. We also have 2 young males that we didn't see. Very energetic. They're basically young teenage boys. So come by later and see who you can find. Now on our left-hand side, this is the Butterfly Conservation Lab. Anybody familiar with monarch butterflies, perhaps? Yeah, a lot of hands. Monarch butterflies, super famous here in the States. Unfortunately, extremely endangered. Back in 2018, their populations declined about 86% in a single year. So they are struggling big time. So we are calling out to all of you folks to help out. If you live anywhere in Western California, or Western America, you can really help. Monarchs rely on a local plant called a milkweed, but the milkweeds are being replaced at large by tropical versions. So they cannot actually use the tropical versions to reproduce or to feed. So populations are very rapidly declining. So you can help out by going to your local nurseries, asking them for local species of milkweeds. And if they don't have any, encourage them to get some in stock, because within the next few years, monarch butterflies may very well be endangered. So you can help out, be an ally by planting some local milkweeds. Now, if you look at the very top of the tree here, you'll see the California condor showing off at that 9-foot wingspan. This bus is 8 feet wide. Their wings are wider than the bus. Now, they are scavengers or vultures. Can anybody tell me what they eat?
People.
Eat dead things in particular. Yeah, dead animals, corpses, or carrion. A lot of terms for it. They are nature's garbage men, the cleanup crew of their native habitats. Very important for our ecosystems. Now, I don't have time for the whole story, but the super abbreviated version, back in the 1980s, as of 1982, there were only 27 of them alive, which is a little more than a quarter of the people on this bus. So really, really endangered. So we started a program teamed up with allies around California, the LA Zoo, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, amongst some others. And nowadays, a little over 40 years later, their population is just over 500, with more than half of that population flying free in their native habitats. So a huge deal, a benchmark of success, because these animals are not only is their population rising, but they're also living in their native habitats as they should. So a benchmark of success that organizations all around the world look to as an example of how to do conservation and how to do it well. So if you want to know more, our website, sdcwa.org, great resource for anything we talk about today. Behind us was the kangaroo bus stop number 4, and a quick reminder that everything we just saw in Elephant Odyssey, those are again representatives or relatives of species that used to live in California. So all those animals that we just saw, something like that used to live here long ago, but then humans came around. And the rest is pretty simple history. Now on the right, you can see some of our meerkats behind the ficus tree there. Now meerkats, if you've ever seen the movie Lion King and or Lion King 1.5, excellent example of meerkat behaviors. The coolest part about that is when they were producing those movies, they did their research right here at the San Diego Zoo. They sent their animators to our zoo to learn about meerkat behaviors and how to, animate them, of course. And so now my favorite movies do exist thanks to that. But it does turn out meerkats do spend most of their day digging tunnels, but the downside of the tunnels is they quite literally live under a rock. They have no clue what's going on in the outside world, so they always have a sentry or two on duty to keep an eye out for potential predators and make sure that the mob is safe at all times. So very important work those sentries have, and that is usually who you'll see as you are headed around. Now here on the right, this is Africa Rocks, which we're going to drive to later on today. Excuse me. But this top section here is a garden known as the Ethiopian Highlands. And as you can see here, it's the home of a tremendously diverse collection of plants, which is true of native Ethiopia, but there's a critical issue right now. As a country, Ethiopia's #1 export is coffee, and in order to grow more, they're cutting down every single plant that gets in the way, and if the trend continues, we're going to lose tens of thousands of plants and animals, so it's a really critical issue. But you can help out by buying that shade-grown coffee that I had mentioned earlier. And by doing that, you're not just protecting plants and animals, but entire ecosystems all across planet Earth. So it's a really big deal, especially here in America. Just in this one country alone, we drink 680 million cups of coffee every single day. And all of that coffee has to come from somewhere, as does every single cup, filter, straw, stir, lid, whatever you use. And all of it has to go somewhere too, so it's a big deal. But you can help out. Just the tip of the iceberg. We can be responsible consumers by buying shade-grown coffee. One example, one way that we can protect this planet Earth for future generations of plants, animals, and humans too. So please do consider it next time you go buy some coffee at the store. On our right-hand side, that's urban jungle, where you're going to find the kangaroo bus stop #1, the cheetahs, the giraffes, the rhinos. You call a group of rhinos a crash, but we only have one, so I respectfully call him the fender bender. His name is Maza. He's hanging out right across the way from our baby giraffe. Her name's Malway. She was born November 29th, and at birth, she was 5'10". So if you want to go see her, she's in urban jungle. Right here, right-hand side, ground level, is a super exciting recycling bin. Get your photos in. That's made of entirely recycled plastic, which is really important for reasons we're going to talk about for the next 3 habitats. So buckle up. Got a lot of things to learn here. Now in this habitat, we are looking for Alba, the Andean bear. I see her in the back cave. She's walking to the left.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll pop out in a moment here. But Alba, the Andean bear, is my favorite animal in the zoo, and I actually owe her quite a lot. Before I was a tour guide at the zoo, I got the job out of high school. I didn't know a single thing about animals. I could name like 5 of them. But I had a shift outside her old habitat right here. And it was because of her that I got curious. I wanted to know what's with her size, what's with the markings on the eyes, what does it mean that she's vulnerable, you know? And so I started asking questions, and a few years later, here I am in the driver's seat of a tour bus. So I owe Alba quite a lot. And now I get to share with you folks what I have learned from her. So to start, Alba, the Andean bear, is native to the Andes Mountains down in South America. She is fully grown at about 180 pounds, which is small when you think of bears, but full size for her, because these bears are something that is known as arboreal, which means they spend almost all of their time in the trees. So that small size key in her success, just like the jaguars, right? Now they have these distinct markings around the eyes. They are nicknamed spectacle bears as a result. And we are working with a team called the Spectacle Bear Conservation Society down in Peru. And we also manage a place also in Peru called the Cochacashu Biological Station. So we can learn more about these bears and find ways to protect them. Because right now, they are listed as vulnerable by the IUCN. So their populations are rapidly declining, mostly due to habitat loss. And what exactly that is, we're going to talk about at the next habitat. But Alba here, my absolute favorite animal in the world. I love her to death. I watched her meet her mate, I watched her meet a mate, Turbo. That's her boyfriend, basically. I also watched her have her baby, Agapito. I even watched Agapito turn into a rebellious teenager. And they ended up getting into a little bit of a fight. And now he lives separately from her. So, pretty amazing stuff. And Alba, definitely a favorite. Now, her area is connected to this one. She can go back and forth as she pleases. So if you come by later to look at her, check both areas. She can be in either one. And hopefully if you do see her later, she'll be demonstrating those climbing abilities we mentioned. Now right here on the right, you'll see there's a care specialist here for the grizzly bear habitat, which means no grizzlies at the moment. But even though we can't see them, I want to tell you a quick story. A quick question for you. Does anybody know what state grizzly bears are the state animal of?
Oregon.
No. We live in it. It's California. They are the state animal of the state of California. And they're on a flag. Somebody on this bus probably has a California Republic shirt or hat or hoodie or something very famous here at the zoo. Now, folks, even though they are the state animal of the state of California, they have not been seen here in quite some time. The last sighting of a California grizzly bear in California was in Sequoia National Park in 1924. Anyone know what year it is? It's been almost a century since the last sighting of a grizzly bear in the state of California. Does anyone want to guess what we did when we saw him 98 years ago? Oh yeah, we shot him. We killed the last California grizzly bear. So there used to be a subspecies of California grizzlies. They are extinct. They will never again be seen on this earth. You'll see them on a flag, you'll see them on your shirt, but never walking around. So they are now only North American grizzlies because of habitat loss. It's a historical precedent for how habitat loss can lead to extinction in a species. We're going to talk about next over here. But history, while disappointing, is there to learn from. And that's what we're doing here at the zoo. One of our hubs of conservation. It's called the Southwest because we're focused on protecting our local species first. So burrowing owls, pocket mice, and many others. So we never get a repeat of the grizzly bear story. Now you're on the right. This is a nice view of the sloth bears. Now, Kardik and Shala are their names. They are a male and a female. They are a part of something called the SSP, or the Species Survival Plan, which means we set them up an account on a dating website. And that is actually how they met. They were determined to be a good match. So what I'm getting at is if you come back later, you might see some nature in action. Is basically the idea. And then we'll get some baby sloth bears. Now, they are native to the Asian rainforest. That's the hub that they're a part of. And we're working with a team called Wildlife SOS to help protect them. Now, they are endangered by the exact same threat that killed all the California grizzly bears, habitat loss. But it's not quite that simple. There's a little bit more to it. What happens is, as they run out of habitat, the bears are also running out of food. And when there's not enough food, they are literally starving to death out in the forest. And as a last resort, the bears are going to human settlements, doing things like scavenging through human garbage, going through farms in order to survive. But whenever this happens, this results in conflict with humans, which means less bears. Very simple, and what happened to the grizzly bears means it could happen again, right? So that's why we are involved in the Asian rainforest, have to protect them. And it's important that we remember that history because it's the consequences of our actions as humans that led to the extinction of the California grizzlies and may very well one day lead to the extinction of the sloth bears too. So it's important to be aware of that as we do make decisions in our future. But to the sloth bears, they're tons of fun. Hopefully we'll get a baby and you'll get to see why they are called sloth bears, because when they have cubs, cubs climb onto mom's back, hold onto her fur, and that's how they travel around. So hopefully we'll get some babies soon. But we're going to drive through the lost forest here, designed to be like the rainforests of the world. And rainforests are very important. They cover roughly 6% of the Earth's surface, yet they house more than half of its terrestrial wildlife. So incredibly dense, incredibly biodiverse. But every minute of the day, every 60 seconds, we lose about 150 acres of rainforest, which is an area bigger than the entire San Diego Zoo and that massive parking lot out front combined. So from the start of this tour alone, we have lost over 5,000 acres of rainforest, which is bigger than 50 San Diego zoos in the past 34 minutes. Pretty bad, right? So we are working on it. Of our 8 hubs of conservation, 4 of them are in forest regions because it is really imperative that we do protect those forests, not just for the animals that live in them, right? Very biodiverse are they, but we humans rely on them too. So very key efforts to protect the forest going on. But some map information for you. We are here in the Wahame Plaza, dead center of your map. In the distance on the left, a very nice landmark. That's called the Basher Bridge up there. That connects Elephant Odyssey on the right to Lost Forest on the left. And the tower there is an elevator. And from the top of the elevator, it is a 5-minute walk. And then you are at the front of the zoo. So please keep it in mind, very helpful to get you around. But the reason we have that is because of a very generous donation. That is how progress happens here at the zoo. It's how we have the bridge, how we have our new Wildlife Explorers Base Camp opened yesterday, and how we're able to support our 8 hubs of conservation. So if you would like to be involved, please do consider donating to the Wildlife Alliance. And that could be just in the form of buying a membership, buying a burger for lunch, or in the gift shops. We sell elephant poop paper, which we saw some of that earlier. But we can turn that into paper, and we are a non-profit. And what that means is all the money you spend here at the zoo goes directly into supporting animals around the park, and also extends through all of the projects we've been talking about today. So please do consider donating to the Wildlife Alliance. Now in the distance on the left, I only caught a brief glimpse of the South African penguins there. We have a big flock of roughly 33 of them, so very energetic are they all. Most of them, I imagine, are going for a morning swim right about now. It's usually what they do at this time of day. But they are native to the southern Cape of Africa, a climate really similar to what we have here in San Diego. And a fun fact, their guano, or their poop, is really important for their survival. They use it to make nests to protect their babies. But unfortunately, it's also being taken by businesses to sell as a fertilizer. So we have some field researchers out there right now working on creating innovative artificial nests, which we're now at the early stages of implementing so we can protect the baby penguins. So yet another project you are supporting by being here today. Now on the left, this is a lemur habitat. I'm not spotting too much activity. We do have 5 species of lemurs here at the zoo, out of what's about 105 that are native to Madagascar, so incredibly diverse are they. We do have Zabumafu, the Shabaka lemur, as well as King Julian, the ring-tailed lemur, hanging out here at our park. And that actually looks like that's all we're going to see in Africa Rocks, so I highly encourage you to walk by later on, especially when it gets a little hotter. They like this, the warmer weather here. And you'll find species like the Hamadryas baboons with their big red butts. The alpha of the pack, his name is Elvis. He reigns supreme with his musical talents. You've also got the geladas, the ibexes, the leopards, even the dreaded Fusa, the apex predator of Madagascar. So a lot of really unique species, if you do want to check them out in there. Now we're going to turn our attention to the right-hand side. Look at these trees with the covers on them. And you might see some of our koalas, again, with the black covers on top. The male koalas are on this side. There's one awake, which is an extremely rare sight. But the koalas are extremely territorial. Has anyone on board ever heard the sounds that koalas make? Yeah, they're terrifying, right? Yeah, I've heard almost every animal in the zoo, and I promise you right now, koalas are the scariest. They're absolutely terrifying when they get aggressive. They sound like a demonic chihuahua. I highly encourage you to look at it back at the tour you overread it. Now we're going to see if we can find some females up here. But koalas can be really tricky to spot because they sleep for roughly 22 hours a day, which is actually very dangerous for them because, does anyone recall, starting in late 2019, the Australian wildfires? Does that sound familiar? Yeah, Australia was on fire. We're talking tens of millions of acres gone. It's a huge deal. But the Australian forest is one of our hubs of conservation, so at the time we helped fundraise about $1 million to go over and help. We helped coordinate search teams with search dogs who graduate from SCAT school with a degree to go over and help find koalas and move them out of pacifiers, set up hydration stations because local water is full of ash and soot, even did airdrops throwing food out of the back of planes because local food, well, it's all on fire, right? And nowadays, a little over 2 years later, we are finally involved in the early efforts to reintroduce the relocated species back to their native habitats, which means we're finally putting them back home. You can see one awake on the right-hand side, climbing up right now. But it's a really amazing effort. We are extremely proud of the progress we've had. But the reason those fires were so bad is because of that climate change that I mentioned earlier. The Australian climate, it's getting drier and drier. And the Australian fires are evidence of how bad it's getting. So you can help out make a difference by doing something I already mentioned. Again, reducing your carbon footprint. And by doing that, you're not just protecting polar bears and penguins, but koalas and all other Australian wildlife too. So, another excellent way to be an ally. Please consider reducing your carbon footprint, a great way to protect our planet Earth. Now on the right-hand side over there, that is urban jungle with the bus stop number 1, the cheetahs, the giraffes, and the rhinos. Down that way was Center Street with the bears. And down this way is the end of our tour. So, I thank you folks for coming along. I do hope you have enjoyed. And I also hope you've learned something, right? A fun fact or two you can share with all your friends, but also a bit about the threats these species are facing and the things that San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is doing in creating a world where all life thrives. And I also hope that you folks have learned ways you can be allies for wildlife. Now, you already are just by being here today. You've supported us as a non-profit, which we talked about earlier. But when you go home today, you can continue being an ally by doing things like reducing your carbon footprint, planting local milkweed plants, buying shade-grown coffee. And when the actions of the individuals become the actions of the many, we can make a really big difference. So thank you folks so much. My name's Devin. It's been a pleasure being your driver and guide. We're going to pull up to the unloading dock here on the left. Going to open up the lower, then I'll run up to the top and let you out there. If you do have any questions, please do let me know on the way out. I'm happy to help. Most common one is where's the nearest bathrooms. When you get off the bus, turn to the right, walk down for about a minute. You're going to find the restrooms, the stroller parking in the front of the zoo. If you did take any photos at the green screens, talk to the lovely folks in orange. They'd be happy to help you check those out. And as a final note while we park here, conservation is an action of today for the preservation of tomorrow. And we here at the zoo couldn't do what we do, couldn't make a difference, couldn't make a world where all life thrives, right? Without you folks here as our allies. So thank you so much. Again, my name's Devin, and I wish you all a wonderful day here at the world famous San Diego Zoo. Thank you, everybody.